The only thing we wanted to say, first of all, welcome to everybody. It's not every day we get this many of our citizens in the building unless we're having a party or a dinner or something. So we're really glad everybody's here. And a couple of things that the treasurer and I and a couple of people spoke about that we wanted to clarify was, one, you should have received in the mail our annual drive for our ambulance club. And you may have noticed a couple changes in that. One is that we're asking you to try to get them back in as soon as possible. What we find is there's confusion every year. We send this out, and a couple months later we send out our fund drive. They are two different things. So I just want to clarify that. And the ambulance club, for those people who maybe are new here, new living in our fire district, the ambulance club allows you to have up to 5 runs without paying your half. And some people ask about the rates. The rates are set by Medicare. They're not our rates. And the $13 a mile, sorry, it's a long ride to the hospital. And we don't set that either. That's set by Medicare. Right. So you should have received one of those if you live within our fire district. If you're not sure if you do, the page on the bottom, the front page, actually has a map of our fire district. And if you can and you get one and you want to get it in, you can drop it at the room or mail it in the mail. But we'd like to get these all done before our fund drive starts. Plus, you know, that you're covered that much sooner if you don't already have an account. The second thing you should receive in a couple of months, you should receive, and this one says 2021, an envelope like that, that's a 2022 fund drive. For those who have lived here a while, you know we usually come door to door this year and the last 2 years because of COVID, but this year we're going to stay with the mail outs. So if you get one of those in the mail, it is not the ambulance club, and we really appreciate the donation. And if you're curious as where some of that money goes, I can tell you this, that we need 22 air packs right now, and they're over $10,000 a piece. So we're in deep need of $220,000. And that just buys the air packs, doesn't even convert our machine to fill them. So it's expensive. Last but not least, I wanted to mention that we do have events. And these events earn funds. And obviously it helps supplement the funds that we graciously get from the county council. And we thank you for that, by the way. And the funds we get from county council help us pay for an ambulance, help us pay for a fire truck. But they really don't cover all the expenses of an operation like this. Our annual budget goes beyond the funds that we receive. And as you know, we have ALS personnel on 24/7. That's 8,760 hours a year. You can do the math, but you figure around $25 an hour counting labor and taxes, and you're talking 226 grand. So that's an expensive proposition in itself. The fundraisers that we have coming up, for those of you who are local, you've probably been to this one, the Muskrat Dinner, March 12th.
Here we go.
I didn't get booed anyway. In case you don't eat muskrats, we have oyster fritters, and we have turkey salad. It's great turkey salad, and I think there's a soup. Am I right, ladies? Soup, salad, but you got to eat the muskrat dinner once.
Bucket list.
Bucket list. Put it on your list. Yeah, you gotta do it. Go and make sure you get a little helping just to try. Okay. After the muskrat dinner on March 12th, we also have the Westside. The next smaller event is we have a carry-out, usually on Memorial Day weekend. Everybody's welcome to join the carry-out. If you're down at one of the campgrounds, if you don't live here. And if you live here, try to get here early because we sell out of those carry-outs pretty quick. And we do usually it's either chicken or we may be, we're hearing about a shrimp one from the ladies auxiliary, but I can't speak for them, I'll be shocked. So, but we're hearing about a shrimp carry-out, so keep your eyes on the sign and keep your eyes on our advertising. And the other carry-out is usually around July 4th, and usually it's not our event, but we usually remind everybody that on July 4th so far, Rolling Point Campground has been able to have fireworks. And I know we're down here in a little old big fire district, not a lot of people, so we really welcome you to come down. I think Rolling Point, if I'm not mistaken, lets people come in from the public, see the fireworks. I don't know if there's a $5 fee or anything, but it's great fireworks, and it's on the water. If you have a boat, bring it down, launch your boat, come out to the fireworks. And the next event after that one would be after July 4th. There may be one more carry-out, I can't say for sure, but then we move into our September time frame and we go to Sandy Hill Campground. I don't know if you've ever been there, but again, we have oyster fritters and Hamburgers are great, best hamburgers you ever had. Sorry, John. And so you can come down there. It's not a private campground. You're welcome to come in and have a meal with us. And then after Sandy Hill Campground Weekend, which we do for 2 days, you can come Friday night or you can come Saturday for lunch. And they actually have an auction in their big meeting room. And then the next event is the Outcasters Open. This is our biggest fundraiser. If you are a boat owner, if you're a fisherman, if you just want to come see the fish wade in, come on down to the harbor. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, I'm sure that Brian Catlin and the committee would be glad to sign you up to be a sponsor of the Outcasters Open. It's a great event. We had, Joe, about 128 boats last night?
158, yeah.
So it's probably the biggest fishing tournament over on the rivers right now. Maybe Wichita's was bigger once. I don't know. But it's a great tournament, lasts 2 days. And if you're a sponsor, you get to come to the captain's meeting, which is a good meal and a good evening. And the next event, many of you may or may not know about, is the Jack Morris Crab Feast. That's usually on the second Saturday in October. This year, that'll be the 9th. And if you remember Jack, that was Eddie's son. And he was a member here not very long because he died in an auto accident. And they have this crab feast every year. It's a great event with an auction. So you're welcome to come to that. Nobody asked, but we have a steak dinner in April. We haven't picked the date yet. It could be all the way into May. But it's a great event. We usually sell about 400 tickets. And you'll have a great time. It's usually John likes the steak dinner. And I'm going to get out of the way in case one of the candidates wants to come up here.
Actually, I have a question for you.
Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, we were talking, and what's the average age of the firefighters here?
Last time I calculated that, it had crept up a little bit into the low 50s, but now we have 2 new members that I think are in their 30s. We're probably in the late 40s.
Do you think there's a need to
We definitely are recruiting. It's on our sign every day. If you go by our beautiful sign from Star Enterprises, and basically we are recruiting, and we've lowered our age for cadets down to 13. If you're sitting here and I know you're not 13.
Identify as 13.
Identify as 13. But we lowered the age for cadets down to 13, and it is a great program, by the way, if any of the parents in here want to know. And as long as they keep doing it, they can come in, and at their junior or senior year in high school, they can go through Mifry's program, become a firefighter 1. They can then stay the other half of the semester and become an EMTB. And with those 2 pieces of credential, you can go down there starting this Monday, in fact, they start another 19 cadets at Salisbury for a full-time job. So it could actually lead to a career. It's not just going to high school to maybe go on to some college. You can go through a firefighting program. So, and you can go to college for firefighting also. So yes, we do need recruits, volunteers. As you know, the ambulance runs more than the fire trucks, about 200, 210 times a year. We get out with either an ambulance and sometimes a boat and an ambulance, sometimes a truck and an ambulance. So, and duck hunters. We have any duck hunters in here? Yes. Would you stop trying to freeze us to death? Okay.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
I'm going to sit
All right, I
Yeah.
appreciate you too. One thing we gotta really start appreciating our firefighters a lot more, seriously. I mean, they risk their lives for us each and every day, and I really, truly do appreciate that. Someone actually just asked me who I am, so that's okay. I think I should go ahead and let everyone know who I am. My name is David James. I'm from Wheated Point. Actually, I was adopted by a lady that I thought was my mother that was from Wheated Point, but my real mother was also from Wheated Point, so I'm Wheated Point. Okay. Of course, when I moved from Wheated when I was 11, I didn't have much choice, but my heart has always been down here. When I started going to church up there, I started going to a church that is mixed. And coming from a church that's just one color skin, it was kind of neat having. Matter of fact, Mr. Nguyen and I went to the same church, and he was a little young. But anyway, I started going to this church, and God just started pulling on my heart about coming back down here and working with people. It's not about a party. it's definitely, it's not about a party, it's about people. It's about the community. And when I came down here, the first thing I started hearing was not just the fact that we do need to come together, but there's a lot of things that need to be done. I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded here. I was able to, my best friend, classmate, and boss, so I can put up with that with her. I got a chance to meet up with our District 2 Councilwoman, Nicole Ackley down here. Actually, during Christmas time, we actually got to meet one another, and I felt that she definitely loved the community. We got to, along with Mr. Lombardo and his wife, we went out and started giving out Christmas presents down here, and and actually some in Salisbury area. And you know, I just felt that it's not about political party with her, and that's just me, okay? I'm not trying to tell y'all who to vote for, but I'm just honored to see this many people show up. This is not going to be the last one unless y'all decide you don't want another one. But I did want to give an opportunity for the community to speak. And again, whoever's not already elected to an office, somebody's going to be elected, but they need to know how we feel, what we want, and not just our vote. Okay? With that in mind, before I go to the next person up here, anyone on the floor? Sheriff Lewis, how you doing, bro?
Good to see you, my friend.
If you want to come up here. Derek, go ahead, any questions too. By the way, I'm gonna say this, I'm hoping I'm not taking your stat when I say this. I actually did a little research. Good to see you, bro. I did some research about as far as any calls down here. How you doing, Mr. Davis? He's my District 1 councilman. Actually, he was a state trooper as well, so appreciate both of you. But I did a little bit of stat work down here and found out on the average, it's about 119 calls come down here. About 119. It actually says that we're the safest part of the county to live. Now, I know sometimes there are things that don't get reported. If you do feel that there is some things that you want to bring up to the sheriff, and I'm pretty sure he'll definitely be listening in. But with that in mind, back to the community. Anyone? Have any questions so far? If not, we do have a list of questions. All right, Kim, go with your first one.
Okay, I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible. First of all, maybe I should tell some of y'all don't know me. My name is Kim Groves. I live in this little area that is Shad Point. If you've never heard of it, it's on the other side of the river. It's still District 2. I grew up there, lived there most of my life, and then moved into the big city of Salisbury. Then I made the decision to get married, and then my husband took me to Southwest Virginia, where I lived in Lynchburg. Interesting. Then he took me to Florida. Really interesting. And everything about Florida they say is true, I promise you. It's really as weird as they say. And then we came back. And in between all that, I lost my mom. And then in 2020, I lost my dad. And I live in the house where my dad lived and where I grew up. So I'm back where I belong. And my daughter's being raised in the house where she should be being raised. And she's being raised in the land that belonged to her great-grandparents and her grandparents and her parents. So I'm very much connected to this area. My dad had a business, some of the older ladies and gentlemen might remember Riverside Nursery, that was my dad. And so when I say I'm invested in the community, I come from the idea of not only having grown up here and seen and went to the schools here. I went to Fruitland and was in Bennett and then Salisbury State, where I got my teaching degree. But I also saw what it was like in other states, in other cities. So I bring that perspective when I ask these questions. So when I ask my questions, I'm bringing that perspective into it. So when I ask, they're not going to be soft questions, y'all. Just want you to know that. Okay? So my first question is for Mr. Lombardo. Mr. Lombardo.
First of all, we need Mr. Lombardo. Do you want to stand up real quick and take a couple seconds, let everybody know who you are?
I'm going to give you a 3-minute timer to tell me me a little bit about yourself.
Wait a minute, she scares me. Well, we don't even know these.
Hi, I'm Darren Lombardo, everyone. It's great to see all of you out here today. I'm glad you love your community enough to come here because this is very important. And I realize the importance of it. And as I come here, I want to let you know I'm running for Board of Education at large. And wanted to just introduce myself, let you know why I'm running. Not to get into details because there's so much to say, but it's been a journey. I've had my oldest graduated through the Wycomico County Public Schools, and my youngest is still in the school system. And through, I would say, a 20-year period, I've seen the school system evolve through Common Core, what we have today. It went from traditional teaching, which we pretty much all grew up under, to progressive teaching. And the change, the drastic change, has replaced core subjects of math, science, history, and English, what we grew up learning, being infiltrated with political bias in the curriculum, robbing those core subjects and what the children need to learn. And so in doing so, as we all know with the pandemic and everything that occurred, it set our children back 2+ years. And so with that, in that 2-year window of loss and what we have today, it was replaced with the bias, and it has really impacted the students. We're dealing with all sorts of things now as a result of the pandemic, but some of this stuff has been going on for years. Just real quick, that are important as far as school is to restore not only core subjects, but parent involvement in education. The school system has worked tirelessly to create a wedge between the family. And so what we want to do is restore that and establish that between the family unit and education.
That's awesome.
Okay, here's my question, Mr. Lombardo. You state that you wish to assure or to remove critical race theory from the school curriculum. Could you point to a specific example of where that is in the curriculum of Wycomico County Schools?
That is a very good question. And so let me just explain real quick, because people hear CRT, they ask, is it in the school? School officials and a lot of teachers will say, there's no CRT, it's not taught here. Just so people understand, critical race theory is a theology, it's an ideology, and it's implemented through what's called SEL, which stands for Social Emotional Learning. That is the mechanism to deliver the integration of CRT. So with that said, it is absolutely in the curriculum, and I could give examples of it. We have countless examples of it actually in the curriculum. I have sheets of assignments. An example would be, we'll use a piece of literature, for example. There is a piece of literature that was written in the late 1800s. It was written by Kate Chopin. It's called The Story of an Hour. Some of you may have read that in high school as children. And so an example of this piece of literature, you could take a piece of literature and twist its meaning with the SEL and the CRT integrated. And so not to get into the logistics of the story, but what they did is they took the classic literary piece, and which is done with several pieces of literature, classic literature through the school system. It is twisted on end, and it is made to make the characters oppressed. Okay, so it will take the situation and always make someone the victim and always identify an oppressor. And this is constantly hit home into the kids all throughout the core lessons. Countless. I have agendas, lesson plans from teachers with it all integrated, right up to the MSDE, the Maryland State Department of Education, that lays out the seeds and all the foundation for the local school system to teach it. And on top of that, to end real quick here, the undermining of society integrated into that to be lawless and to uprise against law enforcement that works tirelessly each day to make sure everyone in society is safe. It is a disgrace what's in the curriculum. And what our law enforcement has to endure, and to turn a blind eye to it and say that it's not there. I have stuff from this school system that will make you fall out of your chair. Thank you.
And I should bear in mind that each person will have 3 minutes to answer the question once I have finished asking the question, so.
And are there anyone from the floor so far yet? All right, I want to, before we go to the next person, by the way, how you doing there, Mr. Davis? I didn't know we got a chance to really talk to you. But, Mrs. Hoy over here, is it Karen? Karen. Okay. Karen is working with actually I'll let her come over and talk. She's actually is concerned about our ditches and drainage ways down here. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but our ditches overflow a lot. And one of the problems is, I believe, there's been a lack of communication either from the county side or our side or whoever on this, okay? Because I know for a fact, Karen, that there was an 85-year-old lady, actually might be 86, asthmatics, in front of her house about 3 years ago. You couldn't even get in her front yard when it rained. I don't know, it's a lot better now, Mr. Perry. But before we did anything with the ditches out front there, Mrs. Ackley had to really kind of fight hard to get the money and funding for that. But it was flooding yards. I mean, we're going to be talking about a little bit about our water and sewage thing, because these things like ditches and drainage, it affects your property value. And, yes, sir.
A suggestion, I don't get out much. Would it be possible just for you or the panelists to introduce themselves?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
know who's the public servant, elected official, who's the candidate.
Sure. So you want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, exactly. We'll skip Mr.
All right, then we'll come back to Karen. Is that okay? We're going to let everybody introduce, but I do want to get back to you. That's a great idea. Appreciate that.
Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Davis.
Good afternoon, Darren Davis. I was born and raised in Wycomico County. I was in the police academy. Mike, we started together in 1985. I did 20 years state police. And in 2014, I was elected to the county council, re-elected in 2018. And I'm the one that sit on the council and don't say much. I mean, you don't have to say a lot, just do what you got to do. And since I've been on the council, I've been on the school board, school building commission. And in that time, we built Beaver Run, West Salisbury. We're now ready to go and redo Mardella. We're going to do the roof on Westside, intermediate from that. And the reason why I'm running for county executive is because if you see you'll see my slogan is that I'm on a jump start Wycomico County. As most of you know, in the last 10, 15 years, we lost Crown Cork and Seal, Campbell Soup, Dresser Wayne. We lost a lot of industries. Well, now we put the money into the airport. We're going to revamp the airport, increase the runway so we can set larger planes, and get the industrial park out there flowing. We're going to try to. I want to bring in more industries if we can, but one of my biggest problems is we don't have the infrastructure, which is the water and sewer that we are fighting to get now. That's why a lot of businesses won't come, because we don't have that. We lost a big opportunity at Amazon. That would have been a great asset to us, but they stopped in seafood because we don't have industrial warehouse space, and we can't get that because we don't have the infrastructure with the water and sewer. So that's one of the biggest things I want to do, with water and sewer. And for all you firemen in here, I found out recently that, remember the $80,000 that was in your budget?
Correct, that you guys voted on?
Yes, you're gonna get it.
Thank you.
It was held up because of federal regulations, so you should get a check by the end of the month for that. And while we're on that, one of the things I'm working on for EMS, I'm working on a plan for a countywide EMS, because we know that it's killing most fire departments, the expenses that it occurs with the paramedics. I think you just mentioned some of the equipment that they have to buy, and I believe we have a countywide EMS. You don't have to worry about when you make a phone call that you have to.
45 seconds.
You have to wait, because the fire department have to wait on the driver, the paramedic. So if we have manned it 24 hours, we won't have that problem.
Oh, but one last thing, we had someone ask, could you let them know what your political party is when you're speaking? That way they know.
I'm a Democrat.
Okay.
We don't care.
Next, Sheriff Lewis.
Good afternoon, Mike Lewis, I'm your sheriff here in Wycombe County. I think most of you know me down here. I spend a lot of time down on the west side. I'm a great group of people, and Madam State's Attorney is sitting in the back. She doesn't like to come up front, but I can tell you right now, she and I were having lunch on Thursday, and I wanted to make sure she was gonna be here. And she said to me, she goes, I absolutely love the west side. I will absolutely join you down there. And I want you all to know our state's attorney is here with us. I am running for a 5th consecutive term here in Wycomico County. I think everybody knows my conservative beliefs, who I am and who I represent. I don't think it's a secret to anybody in here. I love Wycomico County. I was born and raised here. I love our way of life. I love our Eastern Shore way of life, and I love the people in this county. Incredible people in this county. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking, but I'm here to answer any questions you have of me. But I want you to know this. I deploy resources in this county where they're needed. You can thank the good Lord. Rarely are the services of law enforcement needed on this side of town. And I mean that. We have to deploy our deputies where they're needed. But here on the west side, not only do you all take care of yourself, and you do, you do a great job of taking care of one another. And usually if law enforcement's called, it's because you want a body moved. Am I right or wrong? Deputies spend a lot of time patrolling down here, but quite honestly, we have a lot of unmarked cars. You might not always see them. We have Dodge Durangos, we have Tahoes, we have different colored Tahoes. But everybody loves this side of town. They love patrolling this side of town. And it's what's that?
So don't blow your cover on.
No secrets from us down in the west side, I can tell you that. So thank you guys for allowing me to be here.
Mr. Nguyen.
Yep. My name is James Nguyen. I'm 29 years old. So like this has never happened before in my life. And, I just want to say first and foremost, thank you, David, for reaching out to us. Thank you to the Westside Fire Department, and it's extremely encouraging to see all the leaders in this room here today.
Yes.
So I wrote something down because, you know, I'm green, but I'm trying to do the right thing. Okay, good afternoon. My name is James Nguyen, and I'm running for County Council at Large. Like most of you, I'm actually really disgusted and perturbed on where this country's been headed in the past 2.5 years. Probably 2 years, I don't know. It's just, you know, COVID time, it's a blur. So, for the past few years, I've been trying to figure out how I can make a positive impact in our country. Like, what can I do? What can James Nguyen do, 29 years old? I have no idea what to do. So I figured out we not only have problems with our state and local, but we have problems everywhere. So, I mean, it's here. I mean, look at our Board of Ed. So I figured the county council would be a good place to start. I'm a native to the old line state. You know, I've been here, you know, 29 years. I've been in Wycomico County since I was 12 years old, and well, I don't know what else to do but to run. And I'm a 3rd generation small business owner. Yeah.
I was gonna say that for you.
Yeah. So we've been in business since 1953.
At Mr. Rabbit, y'all.
Yeah, at the top. And, you know, I have a pretty good sense of business, you know, and I love the outdoor life. I mean, like you said.
Duck hunter.
Yeah, duck hunter. And I come down here for Westside all the time.
We've seen.
Probably 8 years now. You guys do a great job. And one of the big things that I want to put forward when I run is to make sure our God-given rights are protected and exercised thoroughly. That's enumerated to us in our state and federal constitutions. Now, I got one quote here for you. I don't know, do I have time?
Yeah, you have 40 seconds.
Okay, this is Ronald Reagan. I wasn't around, but, you know, a lot of people here might have
Don't rub it in.
But this quote is relevant, okay, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it along to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for and protected and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
Amen.
Amen. And
That's good, great, go ahead.
Now you're finishing a quote.
that's by Ronald Reagan, and I read that quote, and I just look at our next generation, who's gonna take the torch? Who's gonna continue running it down, and if I don't do it, who will?
Thank you.
Okay, now, let me ask you this, Mr. Nguyen, now, I didn't hear it, you're, what party?
I'm a Republican.
And you're running for at large?
At large.
All right, now, how will that affect us down here? Right?
Well, at large is the entire county, so you're included.
Right, no, I mean, like with, as far as, you're an outdoor, and I've been on the boat.
I've been out here.
Yeah, so, as far as we're a waterman's town, obviously, there's things down here, like, there's our wharf at the checkpoint, that some people wanna see fixed. There's places that they're washing away. I was talking to someone earlier back at, Oddfellow Cemetery. Some of the end of that is actually starting to fall off into the, water. Now, either needs to be doomed or something like that. If you were elected, would you remember this?
Yes. I live in this county, I come down here, like, I can only do what I'm allowed to do.
Absolutely.
And what we can afford to do, and you are definitely on my thoughts. I'm not just focused on Salisbury, the city of Salisbury, no. I'm thinking of Powellville, Pittsville, Willards, Wetitquin, Westside, Five Owl, the whole county. I mean, we're not one little city, we're the whole county.
Right.
If I was all about the city, I'd run for city council. Well, guess what? I live in Martello.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, that's me. Thank you guys.
Appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name earlier.
I'm Dutch Schwemline. My real name is William Schwemline Jr., but everybody knows me as Dutch. I plan to run as Dutch. I'm a Republican running for county council at large. I don't have anything really to say. I just want to make sure everybody knows who I am, how I got here. My parents moved me here when I was 7 from Philadelphia. Somebody told me I shouldn't say that, but I guess if I came from Philadelphia, maybe that's not as bad. My father came here as low voice, part of Wayne Pump, became dresser, went on through there. I went to Pinehurst Elementary School, I graduated from James M. Bennett. I did a little bit of time at SU and at Warwick. I'm not really the studious type, so I didn't stay with it real long. My parents owned a hardware business. Hubert R. White used to be downtown. I worked there most of my early adult life. We closed it in 2000. I tried to be an employee for a year, found out that I really wasn't employee material. So now I'm in business again for myself. I have a swimming pool management business that I run that takes care of people mostly in Wycomico County. I have a few customers in Somerset and a few in Lower Delaware, but mostly in Wycomico. I'm married 40 plus years. My wife Lynn is a teacher at Westside Intermediate. I have 3 children, 3 grown children, 6 grandchildren. Everybody seems successful, so I guess that makes me a good father, but I don't really feel like I did it. But I am a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm concerned with some things that have already been said here, but we have national trends that are influencing and affecting how local governments have to deal with things. The national federal rules come down. They have to be paid for here. They have to be dealt with here. People, I find, are nationally focused or locally focused. But I think the two go together a lot more than people think. The local levels have to fight back against the national rules for the national things to be corrected, adjusted, moved around. I am very much in favor of the rule of law, but we need to change the law when the law isn't working. And I think that's what your government is for, is to make the laws work for what you need to have done. I think that's all I wanted to say.
Does anybody on the floor have a question so far? I had one. All right, what do you think you could do to help this community? Like, How familiar are you with like our needs down here?
Honesty is not always the best policy for politicians. History says that. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know. I will do the research to figure out, as people come to me and say, this needs that needs, we need to go here, we need to go there. I'm new at this. James said he's 29, I'm 64, but I've been busy, so I haven't really looked into this. I've always been interested in politics and thought that I wanted to run for something. As a teenager, I used to tell people that I wanted to be president. Everybody says, no, you'll never be president, because I had a lot of fun growing up, and some of that would probably come out. It might come out running for county council.
You do have a right to remain silent.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Dutch.
Ms. Giordano.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Giordano. I am running on the Republican ticket for county executive. I am a lifelong conservative Republican. My parents are conservative Republican. My grandparents are conservative Republican. So conservative values have been the core of my upbringing. Some of you know me as Miss Giordano or Miss G. I have been a teacher in Wacomico County Public Schools. This is year 17 for me. Okay.
Thank you.
But not only am I a teacher, I've also been a human resources manager. I've also been an events manager. So I've worked in the private and public sector along with education. And kind of like people up here, they're running because they want to see a change. They want to see something different. We've kind of come to it's a little stale here in Wacomico County, and I really want to make a difference. I love that James is 29 years old and he is running. I think that is amazing. I mean, and I just like to clap for you. When I was 29 years old, I still was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I was growing up, like when I grew up. So anyway, what I want to run on, and the reason I decided to run for county executive is because as a teacher, I couldn't run for county council. I wanted to run for county council. It's actually something that I thought about. And I know it's taking a deep dive into politics, believe me. I am a member of the Women's Federation. I also chartered and chaired the Lower Shore Young Republicans here. I'm also part of an amazing group called the Delmarva Conservative Movement. We have about 50 members, and we are coming in strong. We have people working on precinct projects. We have people looking at voter integrity. We have people looking at a lot of different things that I think a lot of us have had questions about over the last year or so. Of course, one of my big supporting things is education, okay? It doesn't mean that I'm gonna take all of our county money and throw it at our schools by any means. I am very much pro-teacher, pro-student, and pro-parent. I am all of it, I was all of those things. I have students at home. I was a student. I'm a teacher right now, and I'm also a parent. And I am a little concerned about the things that are going on in our school system. I would have loved to have piggybacked off of what Mr. Lombardo said. I'm in it every single day. So,
Don't think you won't get a question.
yeah. I'm also obviously pro-Second Amendment, big supporter of our law enforcement and our first responders. Yeah, absolutely. All about lower taxes, and protecting you. My biggest thing is I am not focusing on necessarily the city of Salisbury. I have been to different fire departments. I've been to Willards. I've been to Pittsville. I've been to Powellville. I've been out to Sharptown. I visited all the town municipalities. I'm kind of focusing on all of our people. I want to be your voice. That building on Main Street is your building. When you look at the hierarchy of government, it's not the county executive at the top, it's the people that are at the top. And I want to represent you. So I hope you'll vote for me June 28th. Hopefully you all got that card.
Good afternoon. Exactly. I am Nicole Ackley. I am the County Council District 2 representative, so I see many familiar faces out there. This is somewhat bittersweet for me because this will be my last term on the council. I am running for 37B state delegate. I have self-imposed term limits. I think that a career politician is not the best thing to be. So 4 years, and we have some great new people ready to step up, and I think that's fabulous. Our constitutional rights are paramount. Second Amendment, freedom of speech, there's absolutely no reason anyone should be locked out of a public meeting. Educational transparency and accountability, it needs to stop. Parents need to know what their kids are being taught. They should be able to get into the schools, and we need to see where the money's going. And public safety. Again, we're here with our fire company, and thank you, Mr. Messick, for putting this together. I really appreciate it. I'm proposing a property tax credit for all of our first responders who've been injured in the line of duty. That's firefighters, police officers, ex-military. It's important, not just recruiting them, but keeping them here. I'm not getting any younger. We're not getting any younger. We need some new people to step up. A local economy. I really want to focus on the local economy. And what do you mean by local economy? Well, Wicomico County is, Caroline's right behind that, but it is the largest agriculture economic driver in the state of Maryland. Why aren't we capitalizing on that? That needs to be a priority, protecting our agriculture and our harvesting. We need to make that first with getting our economic development. Ethics and integrity. I represent the people. I don't represent the government. I don't represent the small, loud voice that everyone tries to cater to. I represent all of you.
1 minute exactly.
That's all. You can vote for me, and thank you for your support.
Now, when you are going for that seat as a delegate, how will that affect us? I mean, will you still be working with us?
Oh, I'll still be here. Yes, this is still in 37B. This is it's Wicomico, a portion of Dorchester, all of Talbot County, and a small section of Carroll.
Is there something specific that you see that needs to be addressed and is not being addressed now? I mean, you don't have to put any names out, but is there like, okay, I can say, when we talked on our interview before about transparency in the classroom, there are things that people want that are not getting pushed through to the appropriate people up in Annapolis. Is that what you're going to be helping us to make sure?
Oh, listen, local control, local government. My goal in being a state delegate is to work with our local government to get legislation passed. That's the most important thing. That's what comes from the public. So.
Awesome, awesome.
Hi, I'm John Cannon. I am your at-large representative. Yes. It is great to see such a large crowd here. This is very important. It's important not only to you to make sure you get the services you need, it's important to us, and that way we get the feedback. And we don't forget these type of meetings. I have been on the council. I'm 29 years old. I've been on the council since 2006. Except for about a 4-year hiatus that I took. I've been president of county council for I guess maybe 8 or 9 of those years, which was a great privilege to have that honor to serve in that capacity. I feel that in part of that, I think it's important to realize what your responsibilities are as a leader in the community. You have to make sure that you listen to the community and you make sure that you answer the questions that come in. I'm very pragmatic by nature. I'm a Republican. Terribly conservative. My wife is a Republican. My son is a Republican. He has a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they're both Republicans. So, we're very conservative by nature. But part of what I do outside of president of council, I'm also on the SWED, Salisbury-Wicomico Economic Development Committee. I serve on the Public Library Board. I'm on the PAC 14 board. I'm on the Airport Commission. So there's a lot of things that I do in addition to that. Recently attended. Now I'm on the board of the Extension Committee with Michelle Wright and with Jenny. Sorry, Jenny Grant. Sorry, I drew a blank. And I have a great story to tell you two about somebody I ran into a couple nights ago. Really, 4-H club, Master Gardeners, the whole thing. So that being said, I've always enjoyed what I've been doing. I really appreciate the opportunity to try to resolve the issues that there are in the community. I am a owner of Cannon Enterprises and Cannon Management Rentals. We deal in commercial and residential property management. I have clients anywhere from Salisbury, Maryland, from Del Mar to Hawaii. People that have property locally, they have to have a local property manager to handle their business for them. So that's what I do. That's what my company does. I have to tell you, I have a quote also, and it comes from when I was here a few years back, and I was here with the sheriff, and we were at the Lions Club meeting right next door, and we were standing there, and one gentleman said, "Sheriff, what do you feel about the electric chair?" okay? So I'm thinking, well, that's not too tough a question, and so Sheriff Lewis is standing there, Sheriff goes, I'm dead set against it, right? And this is Sheriff Lewis. So the whole room just died, it was as quiet as it could be, and then he goes, I think it ought to be a couch, and that way they can do four at the same time.
True story.
I'll never forget.
You'll feel that way.
So outside of that, that's all, really, I feel that I'm very pragmatic by nature. I'm always easy to get in touch with, you can call me, you can, okay, I'm wrapping up. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, I will get back to you, I will respond, and you can be guaranteed I'll try to do the best I can to address any problem you have, because that's simply the only thing that I'm responsible for, and I firmly believe in that. I know you had some questions over here.
Are you at large?
I am at large.
You're at large, okay.
There's 5 districts here, and there's 2 at-large positions. I'm one of the 2, and I live in District 2 as well.
Well,
So
there is one thing that I've noticed, especially working with Council Lady Ackley, and actually I think I've seen your phone number also is listed. Now, you're saying that people can call you? Is that, can we actually, like, if they have, seriously, that's one thing, if they have a concern, I mean, even if we can text you, stuff like that.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, well, I have cards here. I don't have any of my campaign stuff yet.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
still
well,
trying to
no,
get
no,
online
yeah.
with just to refile it. But I brought all my county stuff, and it's got my cell phone, so if you call, you don't get the county building, you get my cell phone, I'll call you back.
Awesome. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, you were asking about some of the issues of flooding and
Yes,
and
yes.
issues like that. As far as the properties near the river, it might be the Army Corps of Engineers that we might have to work with to address that. For more basic flooding in the area, we tried to put together a really good plan in all 4 quadrants of the county. It's about 3 or 4 years ago, but our public service director left. Not our public works director left. We haven't hired one since. We were developing great plans to try to do exactly what you're talking about, to take care of the ditches, to eliminate the flooding. And I want to really seriously get back to it, but we have to have a public works director, and hopefully we'll see something develop within the next few months.
We're very, actually, you actually literally just led right, we're gonna talk to Mrs. Hoy, Meyer Hoy, Karen. She's actually been working with, trying to coordinate and talk to people about some of our drainage issues down here.
Okay.
My question is, that when it comes to, this problem, it's been going on for a while. Was it just pushed behind other things for a while? Because there's been drainage problems for many years down here.
It depends on the specific property, I guess. It certainly does.
I mean, because there are like roads, literally, there are roads that are, matter of fact, we're talking, I think it was Mr. Messick was talking about, even the bridge on Weetippin Road, which they never really do a true repave on, just saying. It floods all the time, and I don't know if y'all noticed that, especially in Salisbury, he's not here, especially in Salisbury, there's a lot of potholes because of the weather. So when we're talking about flooding in a lot of these areas, if it's not taken care of, it just messes up the taxpayers' bills.
Sure.
So is this something like, I'm pretty sure somebody has brought, and not the same for, this is for whoever's been on the council for a while. Someone has brought this up, how come it's not been
Addressed.
The reason why a lot of these problems you're talking about, the ditch and stuff, haven't been fixed, like you said, we lost our director. We're also down like 15 men at county roads.
Yes.
We don't have the manpower, and the reason why we don't have the manpower is because the pay. Our pay is so low that we're losing workers to our surrounding counties, Worcester, Somerset, going to Sussex County, and that's why you see a lot of ditches that are going bad, and that would have a lot of drainage. And like John said, we want to address it, but we don't have the people to do it. And that's simple. That's one of the things I look for when I run and improve the pay for county employees. We lost a lot of employees these last 2 years to our neighboring county, including our public director. He went to Worcester County for more money. So that's why we don't have them. And that's one of the things, I'm pay raises for county employees so we can keep our employees here. For the teachers, we're also losing teachers to surrounding county. So we have to give these people the money. If we want the people here to work in Wycombe County, we gotta give them the money.
It's not always pay.
Excuse me?
It's not always pay that drives
It's not
people out.
always paid, but that's the main reason why we can't get a director, because of money.
Well, and I've talked to the person that works with roads, I'm not gonna say the person's name, because you may or may not know him, but It's frustrating, I gotta see it from his point of view, when you don't have the manpower, but I'm just gonna be cut to the chase, but you got someone on the board, or on our council wanting a raise. That asked for a raise at a council meeting, but we have no roads, that person's not here, but.
We didn't ask for a raise, it was a commission, we have a commission that meets every 4 years, that recommend raises for the council, county exec, and the sheriff. It's not that we're asking for, it's a commission that does that every 4 years. It's in our charter that it has to be done.
Okay.
That's not, I mean, that seems fair, but it seems at the same time. Now, Ms. Moore.
Yeah, Ms. Karen?
I'm Karen Boyd. I actually came today as a citizen until I got railroaded by David.
Trust me.
I do live on Tipton Road, but I work for the State of Maryland Department of Agriculture under Resource Conservation Office.
Could you speak up, please?
Sure. My title is Public Drainage Association Coordinator. And down this way, there are 3 what I call PDAs, Public Drainage Associations, Nanticoke, Texas Road, and Hidden Creek. And if you own property in those PDAs, you pay what's called a tax rate, but it's basically a maintenance fee to maintain this ditch system within the PDAs. And not all ditches are part of the PDA, because there's county roads and state road ditches. They are managed by 3 managers. They're the property owners, they're volunteers, and every year we have a meeting, it's usually in the winter. They decide what maintenance needs to be done on the ditches, just the PDA ditches, as well as the tax rates, if they want to change them or leave them the same. And it's based on per acre, cropland, woodland, or a residential lot, which is 5 acres or less. The managers rotate every 3 years, so there's one up for renomination or election every year. That being said, I know it's wet here and it's only getting wetter. But my role is basically a liaison between the managers of the PDAs and the state. I secure all their permits to make sure that they're clear to clean out the ditches, put in tiles, and maintain the right-of-ways. That being said, I don't know that they will be creating any more PDAs in the near future because it's expensive. You have to survey, basically have many community meetings like this. But I do work with the county roads and the state roads to help coordinate maintenance. Yes.
Now, I was told the permit process, you have to get a permit before you just clean a ditch out. Like, that's what I was told. I don't know if that's true.
If it's just a ditch on your property?
No, like next to the road.
That I don't know. Chances are, if it's a county road or a state road, I don't know what COMAR or regulations they have. I just know what I have to go by.
I did a tile job for a guy that actually worked in that field, and he said a lot of the problems we have is that the permit process is convoluted, and it just, this is from what I was told from a customer of mine that was in that line of work, and he seemed to think that that's a good reason why we've got, drains backing up. And another thing is, I was driving down Whitehaven Road on the way to Red Roost one time, and I stopped to talk to a farmer on the road there. I don't know if he might be here tonight, but he brought to my attention that the ditches were being dug the wrong way. And they were backing up because the guy digging the ditches dug them the wrong way. They should have been dug the other way, and it would have drained out properly. So it created a lot of ponding. You know that road going to down Whitehaven Road by Red Roost, and there's a lot of water.
That's clear.
Okay.
So let me ask, why have these positions, like the road position or public works, been replaced? I know that we took a big loss when Wesley Young left and went to Worcester County. That guy was a saint. So let's talk about Clare Road. Everyone knows my brother and our family knows the Red Roost. Last 2 years, that road's been bad, right?
Yeah, been bad.
Right? And we have a lot of guests here. the ditches haven't been done. I used to be able to call it with Wesley, the ditches are all backed up. Like within 3 or 4 weeks, they'd be dug up. There's no one to call anymore, so why haven't those been replaced? I guess that's more over, well.
Well, I think, Mr. Davis, I'm sorry, I'm all the names. Mr. Davis, addressed that apparent, and it's between the lack of competitive pay and that we can't attract candidates that are willing to come here and.
So whose decision is to pay? I mean, it's either the county council or the county executive, because I know if I need to find a line cook, and I can't get one for $15 an hour, I gotta pay $18 an hour, I'm like, you know what, I need a line cook.
Right.
I don't say, you know what, we're not gonna cook hamburgers today.
No. Exactly. Mr. Davis, would that pay decision fall under that commission that you?
No, that decision to hire the person, the director, that's the county's, that's the position.
And what other positions are empty right now?
We have
The grant writer, right? John, the grant writer's still not filled.
grant writer.
We don't have a grant writer.
Right.
Yep.
We don't have a director of
Well,
administration
what
or
we're looking at
deputies.
right now is that we need, I mean, Don, you mentioned grant writers, it's too true. That's probably one thing we need more than anything. Sometimes I feel that any money coming from the state or federal government, we're missing out on a lot.
The emails I sent you about this whole ambulance program,
Exactly.
you need a good grant writer to
And you
get
do,
those.
you really do.
Well, I know a grant writer.
Well,
A lot of people know one.
What I was gonna say.
Work for the
Right
county.
now,
I mean, right now,
Contacted you guys.
no, right now, there's no director of administration, there's no deputy director, there's no grant writer, there's no public works, we're low on roads, we're short on teachers.
Correct.
So, I mean, I can keep going.
Wait a minute, are you literally sitting here telling us that like 7 people basically work for the entire county? I mean, essentially.
There's certainly a shortage, without a doubt, there is a shortage. I think a lot of it has to deal with the fact that we have to review the pay salaries that we're actually.
But see, you're constrained by the revenue cap.
Well, no, the
Would you
revenue
say
cap
that
hasn't
that's
really been restrained. In 1 year, we increased $17 million even with the revenue cap. So the revenue cap hasn't restrained us much at all. The current executive has just received and paid for and received a study as far as what all salaries should be, and they're reviewing that now. Council hasn't received it yet, but it's just come in. So they're going to be evaluating for this next budget cycle exactly what the heads of each of their departments really should be getting paid, if they're getting paid the amounts that they should be, and all the way down to the individuals that are working in each department. So I'm very anxious to see in this next budget cycle exactly what recommendations are going to be coming, because we know that there's issues, we know we have shortages, and we do have to turn that around.
David, she had a question.
Well, I mean, everybody's talking about pay raises and everything right now, and you're saying that it's a county executive. I'm new to the area, so, forgive me for being ignorant on some of this stuff, but everybody's talking about, you're losing people. I know even in the firehouse here for paramedics, they can't get people because the pay raise isn't as high as Salisbury or something like that. So why can't you get these, pay raises up so you can have the people in here? If it's just one person, we can't just be sitting here saying, okay, we're gonna wait for the pay raises. You really have to start being aggressive with this stuff instead of 3 years. 3 years is a long time to wait around for paramedics, for equipment for the firehouses, for all these people that have to get stuff done, for the ditches that people can't turn around and say something.
So I just wanted to clarify for anyone who's not familiar with the structure of government that we have in Wicomico County. It is not like our surrounding counties. We have a county executive form of government. So the county executive is similar to the governor, right? I mean, he oversees the whole executive branch, all the departments fall under him. Then there's a county council, and we are the legislative body. So we don't, we would approve salaries once the county executive has determined those salaries. We would approve those.
But obviously they're dragging their feet. If the executive isn't turning around and saying, okay, these have to be, everybody in this county, in this area here, the salaries are low. I mean, is there a meeting or something that you can have with the executive to put pressure on them? I mean, I'm just saying.
He doesn't have the time.
Besides the election, I mean, I
He
guess
didn't join us, I know
I
why.
guess something blackballed, I don't really care, but I know from some of the people that I know in this firehouse that they need money. And it's everybody always saying, passing the buck, passing the buck, passing the buck. You know, the drainage ditches that's hurting the restaurants around here that have great restaurants and people wanna go see, but when it floods, you can't go anywhere. You know, and I don't know, something's gotta be done. You can't just sit here and say, okay, it's somebody else. Well, we gotta get the ball rolling.
And I totally understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear, the county executive's role and the county council's role and what we can do and what we can't do.
Well, then something's gotta change, because you're talking about changes. Something's gotta get changed so that people can get paid the proper salaries.
Absolutely, which is why me and Mr. Davis are up here running, absolutely, you are right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Everyone just seeing celebration. But you have to realize it's a problem everywhere at the lower pay rates, everywhere. So you can't just jump all these pay rates up all at once and make everybody's plate higher when you're working on a limited budget. And that's the problem, and that's just the problem everybody's running
And
into.
I get that, you know, but if we can sit around and think of a way to get things going a little bit more, instead of just sitting on our hands and saying, okay.
Well, that's what it comes down to, you gotta get people like this that are getting voted in, get people up on the council that'll be able to try and make those moves.
And you gotta find people that actually wanna work.
Yeah, that too.
You can't find people that wanna work that are qualified.
Has a question or a comment?
Because of the pay rate, because of the pay.
That's correct.
There's Salisbury City's offered $25,000 to come over to their police department, and they're still struggling to get people to come to work.
And
There's more problems with that. Mr. Perry, what's your question, comment, and then we'll come back to the police department situation.
It's not a comment,
Or
I mean, it's not a question, it's a comment. David's been on me for a while to say something, because I can't stand here. I left this county in 1979 to join the Army. I have this hat that I wear that says retired, not expired. Okay? Straight off, I'm from Tipton, I was born and bred here. I graduated from Bennett, I went through UMES. But everywhere that I went, I talked about my state. How my state was better than their state, because of how I left it. But when I came home 6 years ago, I was embarrassed to be here, because I found that my state was no different than the rest of it. The bureaucratic BS that's been going on, where nothing is getting done. It's time for us to get past the point of talking, and it's time for action. Because the thing about it is, it's not about it. I mean, I have pictures here when you talk about the ditches. The last councilman here for Miss Ackley, he told me to take pictures of the flooding, okay? And everybody told me that this how it's supposed to be. And I said, don't tell me that. I'm from here. I played in all those woods. There was never any swamp land down there. The ditches haven't been dug out in 40 years, 45 years, okay? Some of it is so bad, as he said about there, we couldn't even get to church because the church was flooded and people couldn't even ride up to the church, okay? Sheriff Lewis, I give you props because I come from, I say 20 years in Oklahoma. They have a big county there too. Them guys do a great job. That's a lot of windshield time when you got a large county like this one, so I do give you props. But we stand around, I mean, I say I've been blessed for a lot of different things. I miss the plane going into the Pentagon because I didn't take that job, okay? But the thing about it is people need action. When it's time for stuff to happen, because it may seem small sometimes, but it isn't small. If you look around this room right now, you see a lot of us got gray hair. The Westside is not young anymore. So stuff that needs to be done is not for us, it's for the ones coming after us. Okay, those are the ones that need to be taken care of. And if we don't get things straight now, then what happens to them? How farther back will it go for them if things don't get squared away right now? We talk about the education. I really don't want to get into that part either. I spent 4 years in the schools as an Army recruiter, and I saw it with the kids that were, the education that they were getting, okay? I have cousins, I got one that's a principal, so it's atrocious on some of these things and things that we're trying to do. Of course, I blame some of that on parenting, sorry. Parents, you need to get more involved in what your kids are doing and what they're learning. Okay, real simple. I say that because I have 3 kids, grown kids, and I call my kids nerds. Why? Because their stuff had to be at my table for me to look at every day when they come from school. And my 2 girls, they're my pride and joy, but the thing about it is we have to get involved. That's why this meeting is here now, to get involved. I belong to the Westside mission down here, which some know about, okay? We have food giveaways. One of the things I told the president is I felt really embarrassed because the food is free and people weren't showing up to get it, okay? During the pandemic, we didn't stop. We were giving away food, just like all the rest of them. The thing that we asked from our elected officials is, and Ms. Ackley, she could tell you, I had a 2-hour meeting when I first got home, 2.5-hour conversation. You know, and one of the main things that I told her is, and they've had a discussion about it down here, is they can't get internet down here. We're in social media, but it doesn't do any good to put things and post them when nobody can get it. Because they cannot get through to it. So that means, what do we do in our midst? We send out posters, we send out flyers to ensure that everybody knows what's going on. And until they can get the capabilities of social media, of internet stuff down here, then they don't know what's going on. They don't know when you have meetings, they don't know the agenda that you have, because you post the stuff, and that's fine, but we don't get it down here. So nobody knows down here what's going on, except for the ones that own social media. And it makes it very difficult. And the other part is, like I told her, you will get support if the people knew what you're doing. If they don't, then we're asking to elect the official, but we don't know what's going on with that official. Her question is valid. We're spending too much time making decisions about what I consider small things. I've been an HR manager also, okay? The thing about it is 2 things I was taught when I was taught management. One is you take care of 2 customers, the internal customer and the external customer. We are the external customers when it comes to our elected officials. If we're not taking care of it when it comes time for this to happen, then what do you think we're gonna do? We're not gonna put you back up there. And that's what it comes down to, because we don't see the progress that's helping us down here. Okay, and that's what's important. I've said that since I've been here. I've looked at things and I'm like, what happened? Why did things change over all these times? And then as I got wrapped into it, then I understood more. Part of it is, the biggest part is communication.
Real quick, that just to piggyback off of what he had just said as far as communication, before I came here today, I told 3 of my neighbors that I was coming down, and they're like, town meeting? I didn't know there was a town meeting. The only reason I knew is because I help out with the food bank, so there's an email that goes around. So if you can think of a way to communicate to everybody down here, I'm up in Tyaskin, and like I said, 3 of my neighbors, I was like, do you want to come? They're like, we have things we have to do. So people don't know what's going on, how to do it, because I'm sure there's a lot more people that would back you up if they knew. So.
Yes, ma'am.
I can help address that if you'd like.
Go for it.
More recently, 2 things have developed in Wycomico County just within the last month. One of those is the Water and Sewer Master Plan, which was just completed by George Miles and Bureau. And part of that plan, they evaluated this exact area here as in need for some type of assistance. Because your online septic systems are not going to last if they're lasting as they are today. You're having failing systems. The study recognized that. The key is they need to get down here, and the only evaluation they have to this date is that there's going to be some type of a centralized system that's going to be required to address it. I'll tell you now before we get out of it, it's going to be a lengthy process, And I'm more anxious to see how it goes from year to year as we work with the plan, we work with the executive to see what happens. But it has been recognized. You can get the study. It's on the Wycomico County website, and you will see very clearly how they're evaluating this complete area, okay? It's a pretty good read. It's a pretty simple read. The other issue is the broadband, which is a top priority and has been for the council for quite a while now. I guess it was, maybe 2 weeks ago that the executive, he put out an RFP and he decided that Talkie Communications was going to be doing the last mile, was going to be given the contracts on the last mile in Wycomico County, or the last 100 yards from the street to your houses. You know, there were several, I think 5 or 6 ISP servers, internet service providers, that were looking to do the job and to get the contract. So this has been issued to Talkie Communications. The council hasn't been really privileged as to what the specific details are, but trust me, we're going to have Talkie Communications in front of the council in one of our March meetings and say, okay, you got the contract, you tell us what's going to happen. And this area is one of our first priorities. And I'm not just saying that, it is one of our first priorities. We know that for a fact.
Concern, I've been talking to a couple of people who has experienced this. Actually, I think it was Mr. Messick and I was talking about, there was a county in Delaware, was it Sussex? Was that you and I were talking? When they brought in their cable company, they said all or nothing. The problem is that Comcast has been able to decide where they're gonna bring it and stop it. Now, this means that, do they have a contract that has no expiration? Do we have an opportunity to tell them, hey, look, either all of us or none of us? Because we wouldn't have to need Talkie. We wouldn't have to need any of this. We've got Comcast. Obviously there's nothing other than Comcast out there, so there's a monopoly.
Well, you see, and you're right, Comcast will go to, they will pass 10 houses on the road to hit the development of 100.
That's discrimination.
They're not going to take the time or trouble, as a business, they're not going to take the time or trouble to hit the 5 or 10 along the way. But the contract that we have with Talkie Communications, Maryland Broadband is bringing a trunk line down here. And Talkie Communications' responsibility is to hit all the small areas that Comcast is choosing to ignore.
So what is the consequence to Comcast for discriminating on some of the citizens?
You have to call Comcast. Be on hold for 20 minutes. You're not going to get an answer for that.
John, you were at the meeting. You were at the meeting at the center, and so was Jeff and some people that have worked in that field. And one of the problems was after the meeting, after the presentation by Maryland Broadband, then we went to the ISPs, and they all started telling us what they were going to cost. Well, one of the problems is not going to be addressed from them, is that they're higher than my Comcast, by the way. One of them's double. And so the people that can't afford Comcast, they couldn't afford them either. Whether they bring the wire or they don't bring the wire, they can't afford the monthly fee.
Talkie's rates look
I wanted to talk on that broadband, and you were talking, I forget your name,
Davis. Ernie Davis.
Okay, Ernie. You were talking about infrastructure, and to me, broadband and fiber optic is important to everybody down here, because that's where it should be. Because we got businesses down here, we got gym, we got businesses.
We got kids.
We got, kids and schools. I mean, let me tell you, things are moving quick. I spent 10 years working from home, and there is no way I could have done that if I lived in my existing house. Because I have Verizon, fiber optics, forget it. I mean, I lived somewhere previously that had Fios, and that allowed me to work at home. So, as time moves along, we're getting further and further behind. I mean, we're not bringing any business to this side. Like, we don't bring any type of business.
Thank you.
We're bringing jobs. So that means more people are going to move out of here.
Right.
If they're moving away from here because there aren't jobs. So it behooves us all to want this. It's only a good thing. It's only a benefit. And it's not that like it's a firehouse. I mean, that makes, that like, you know, mind explode.
Park out front.
Okay, it's like,
To get a
you know, my
signal.
head explodes when somebody tells me it's only gonna go to the firehouse.
Right.
I'm like, what? Who made that decision?
Let me say something. Delegate Sharice Sample Hughes, she pushed the bill for broadband that got the $1 million and sat in the budget of Annapolis for all the counties in the state to draw money to put the broadband in. We are the last county in the state to touch that money. Really, we haven't even touched it yet. And to understand, Governor, the county executive controls the day-to-day operation of the county. We're just the legislative part of it. County council, we don't control the day-to-day operation. Just like with the broadband, we didn't have a choice in picking talkie. It was picked by the county exec. And we was in a room, and it was told us that talkie's gonna only handle 2,200 customers. But we asked the county exec, we got 100,000 people in the county. His thing is, everybody don't need it. And we all disagree with that.
Wait, is that
So I have a follow-up question then. Since everything I'm hearing today goes back to the county executive, it sounds like someone needs to schedule a meeting with the county executive here.
Next time, we're invited to that.
He was invited.
He was invited.
Doesn't reply to emails.
I'll go even one better. Take his salary away, give it to the people who need jobs, and that'll wake them up.
He's trying to give us an increase first.
Pardon?
There was just a meeting, was it last month? Between, about a month ago, there was a meeting with the, of the council, and there was a raise that was proposal brought up by the county exec.
No. It's not brought up by the county exec, it's a commission that we as a council formed. It has to be done every 4 years to study this out.
Right, but it's every county employee, but the only salary that's been discussed thus far is his. So not anybody else. I just met with a roads crew person, his name is Nevada, and his salary is less than that raise. His salary is $36,000, which is less than the raise. So yes, I can't wait for the salary study to come out. It needs to come out. It needs to come out for all employees, though. We're only hearing it for one thus far. So
we keep talking about the low salary. It is not something that just happens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's something that's been growing because we would have not lost the people if those salaries, especially for critical people. We're talking critical people. We're not just talking about somebody that's working. We're talking critical. We're talking directors. We're talking about these kind of people.
Absolutely.
This is something that's been going on
Right.
for a while.
So I think everybody's looking forward to seeing the salary study. Like I think everybody is very excited to see the salary study and to see the results for the departments, for every single person in the county. It's just we haven't seen that yet. We've only heard for one salary right now.
One of the things, and I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, probably ties up, I know it's getting late, but one of the things I remember as a child is there was more business down here. Like Nanticoke Seafood, I don't know what you chase anybody here. We have watermen that they gotta communicate. Anytime they don't take care of us down here, they're really strangleholding part of the economy of this county. Because, truthfully, you can't even get some foods in the store. However, I remember as a kid, I could go down here to the wharf and get my whole supper. But now, you see what I'm saying?
What are some things that you think that could be done to bring business back for locals here?
Did y'all hear that question?
No.
What are some things that you think that could be done to bring business back here?
Lower the taxes.
How you gonna lower taxes and pay people more to work?
What about wharves? That's the question. I'm thinking that if number one, our wharves need to be fixed. I believe that our watermen need to be taken care of. I don't know what kind of taxes. Anybody have to pay? Watermen in here have to pay. Okay, so is the taxes high on being a waterman?
It's the permits.
Yes, so I mean, I think, David, when we're talking about local economic development, what is local economic development here? Agriculture is our largest industry.
Exactly. Well, as a
So,
kid here, I
we need
mean,
to expand that. We need
and
to expand
Charles
that.
Perry can say this, also growing up here, and others that grew up down here. We had watermelon fields, you had lima bean fields, you had, again, nanny cooked seafood, agriculture. We had a lot of different things coming out. Now we've got fallow fields. We have, you can't grow anything in fields that are swamped out because of drainage problems.
We also have aquaculture, not just I mean, my great-grandfather actually had a Shad Point boat railway, and it's now fallow area. And I mean, okay, it wasn't exactly legal, but he used to fix oyster squeeze boats.
Sharon, hold your ears. Sharon, hold your ears.
Sharon, hold your ears. I mean, he used to fix the oyster thieves' boats that when they would get shot in the middle of the night when they were trying to steal the oyster traps, and and he would grease the bottoms of the skipjack boats up for Baltimore racers, and I mean, and he fixed and repaired boats, and my dad helped out too, and my dad actually has a photograph of an Aubrey Bodine photograph of the mules pulling the boats up onto the land and everything. And up until the day he died, my dad had a scar where he picked up a barnacle on his knuckle and it grew there and he had to have it cut out. So I mean, aquaculture is also huge as well. And we're not going to go dig up my great-great-grandfather and charge him with that, are we, Sharon?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's your limitation.
We were a little country down there in Shad Point. Sorry about that. But I mean, but seriously, all jokes aside, aquaculture needs to be investigated too, because this area is great for aquaculture. And I mean, and aquaculture is more than just crabs and oysters and clams and that sort of thing. It's everything. There's hydroculture with plants. I mean, Jenny, you're here. Are you still here?
Yes.
Yeah, Jenny. I mean, how much aquaculture can you do with plants down here with the river and
Your time's up.
Sorry.
So if there's other concerns, I try to have town hall meetings
Right.
once a month, once every other month. I would be happy if there's anyone else who wants to would like to host a town hall, or if there's a topic that wants to be discussed. I know Councilman Davis and Councilman Cannon have been to town hall meetings also. I think we would all be willing to have them if you'd like to have it on a specific topic and discuss it more.
Can I ask one question?
Go for
We
it.
kind of went around this broadband thing, just so I understand. So actually, my wife testified, Nicole testified up there, we're trying to get it passed in Annapolis in 2019, just before the pandemic, or 2020. And you talked about education, my wife talked about business needs for it. So Chop Tank, I thought was gonna have it for the county, or for areas of the county, is that correct?
No.
No?
No,
How did it work? Because you're talking from the road to the house, but I'm kind of confused on the infrastructure getting it there. We live in rural Hebron. We're lucky, and again, our business, we have boonies. We've got Wi-Fi there or broadband there. We can run our transactions. We have everything we need. Red Roost, we run off HughesNet, which all of you all know, hit and miss at best. We might be able to transmit some stuff some days, and 4 days later get to transmit. So it's a big impediment. But at our houses, definitely during the pandemic, we all learned, our kids are at home on these laptops. Our son, he had to go into Evo or go to wherever he could do to actually learn, which everybody down here too. I mean, I saw kids in parking lots doing school from this area, which is deplorable. But I felt like we were about to jump forward, and then it seems like, and we were told we were going to have broadband by the end of last year by some people, but can you kind of just explain the tier here? There's to get it to us, and then there's a tier to get it from the road to the house. Where are we on that exactly? Because I think that's a huge issue for everybody in the room just to understand. Because I don't.
So any of these ISP providers, Chop Tank, Talkie, any of them can come here. The county is not saying no, you can't. Right? We're not saying that. Talkie, the county is not giving any money to. And they're doing the complete build out with the priority areas of the west side of town as being the most underserved.
Does that mean down the road and to the house, or how does that work?
Chop Tank told me twice over the years we've been here, if you haven't had us in the past, we will not sign you up.
I mean, I can't speak for
That's
Chop
just-
Tank.
If
Yeah.
you've had Chop Tank for years.
No, I'm a Chop Tank customer in my house, and Matthew, told me that the county did not choose them, and we won't have Chop Tank, they've chosen a different provider, and to contact the county.
Okay, so
And that was
Chop-
3 weeks ago.
And Chop Tank can go anywhere. They don't need the county's approval. If they want to be the ISP provider to your house, they can do that. So I'm not sure why, I don't know.
They can do that as private enterprise.
Yeah.
The difference being, John, is that the trunk line is being put in down the main line, through Maryland Broadband.
Okay.
They have to get the trunk line down first.
Right.
And then the ISPs will take that last 100 yards. What Talkie's obligation is that they've received millions and millions and millions in grants from the federal government. And part of that obligation is to make an agreement with the local jurisdictions, which is what happened. So they were picked by the, as it is now, by the county executive as Wycomico County. They have been chosen to partner with Wycomico County so that they will then spend those millions here. That is what all the other ISPs were trying to do. They were trying to get the favor of Wycomico County to give them a letter of support so that they could get the millions in funding.
Right.
So Talkie is the one that bid for lack of better words. So now they will be held responsible to take those millions and do the last 100 yards from the Maryland Broadband trunk line. And that's what we're gonna have to do. Now, it just happened, maybe, 2 weeks ago?
Will that
It
trunk
just happened
line
2
be
weeks
anywhere
ago.
but Nanicook Road, or will it go
The
into
trunk
the other
line's
roads?
already run. The broadband line's already run down here.
So,
On other roads than Nanicook Road?
No, it went down, Nanicook and went down Pyask.
Personally, I have Comcast in my home. I live 3 miles down that way on Nanicook Road. And I would not have had it had it wouldn't be for my neighbor who happens to be a Comcast installer, begging and pleading and begging and pleading to put the node in the line. Because the closest node in the line, now my wife and I are both teachers, so thank God we were able to do this in the summer of 2018. I had to trench the line from the road to my house, which was 550 feet. In fact, you drive by my house, you'll still see the rest of the spool there, which they gave me for free. So I did that personally. Now, the node itself cost $32,000, and they wouldn't do it for anything less than 10 people who would sign up for the service at the moment. And they wanted to charge $15 a foot to put it in from the road to my home, which is why I put it in myself. So my question was, and the only reason I knew it was there is because I saw the Comcast workers on Nanicook Road. I knew the Boonies had Comcast there. I saw it go past my house over and over and over again. However, how could I not get it to my home? Right. I was lucky enough to be able to get it. We had 6 people sign up for it in the area there that were close enough to the node. But that doesn't take care of anybody on Wetumpka Road. Doesn't take care of anybody on Deep Branch Road. Right. There's a lot of other roads other than Nanicook Road. Yes. I just happen to be lucky enough to live on Nanicook Road. So does the trunk line serve anywhere else other than there? Because I doubt all these people live on Nanicook Road.
Well, that's my question. The last 100 feet, John, is that from this trunk line? So if I live on the corner of Capitola and Nanicook, I'm golden. But if I live down Capitola, 200 feet.
You're screwed.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
How does that work?
As of right now, I don't have an answer for you, John.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I understand.
I know you the past because you always help us. So.
Right, yeah. I don't know exactly right now where that, we just know that Maryland Broadband was putting the trunk line into Tyaskin. We don't know exactly how far it is, where it is, the street alignments or anything, just as of right
So
now.
We Talk is just a contract from We Talk. It's 100 feet off the trunk line all the way down.
Wherever that trunk line ends, however far down that trunk line goes. All we know is that Maryland Broadband says they have sent it through Tyaskin. We don't have a lot of communication with Maryland Broadband. The council didn't even know that these trunk lines were being put in until after the fact, which I found shocking. And never really got a good answer as to why we didn't get an answer to that.
And like you, I'm on Chop Tank. The Chop Tank has the trunk line in it. but I also have Comcast. Being that I have Comcast internet, they can't give me the high-speed internet because the federal government says until everyone in the county has broadband, Chop Tank can't connect you up to their high-speed internet, even though you have Chop Tank Electric. They can do it, but they can't do it until everybody in the county has it done.
So who do we have to vote in or vote out? That's the real key.
It's federal regulation, that came from the feds, so that's FCC, yeah, it comes from them. I talked right to the Chop Tank, and they said they would love to give me but they can't do it, because I already got Chop Tank in my house, Comcast in my house.
But this is the priority area, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is all of Sharptown, Mardella, and this is first to be serviced with the priority area.
But it's still not every road in this area, right? I mean, it's just that.
It stopped here on Nanaco, it's not
Right,
going down to
so-
Waterview.
So that's
Right,
Maryland
so just a
broadband.
part
That-
of this area.
Yeah, that was Maryland broadband. So
Right.
that was one pot of money. Now Talkie is something different. That has a different pot of money that will be reaching the different areas. But even if it does come to your home, you still have to pay for service. So it's.
The service would be cheaper than what anybody in this room employs for internet right now. I know
If you're using HughesNet or Verizon router.
because most people here would probably have HughesNet or Verizon router or HughesNet and DirecTV.
I will tell you, my Comcast is about 197 a month.
That's, well, I mean, that's cheaper than what, I mean, it's crazy what people on this side of town have to pay for TV and
Oh, I
internet.
know.
And
I live on
internet's
the
so
side.
important now with our kids, so.
And Starlink is another one, it's one that reaches to this area. Yeah, their equipment is over almost a year back order now, but that's, I think it's $99 a month.
We want to tie this up, I know everybody's getting a little tired, probably, I've been sitting a while. I want to actually say talk about one last thing. I mean, anybody can answer this. The water and sewage. The importance of it, what's the time frame of it, and will that allow more building of things down here? Like, I mean, there are places, I did a little research in Tyaskin, there was 200, again, not everybody does their census. 10 years ago, there were over 200 people in Tyaskin, now there's only 100 something. People are leaving out of here for Salaries, either broadband or the fact of I don't know. So what is the time frame on this water sewage issue? How much will it cost the people to get that tied into their homes? Will it cost the taxpayers money? Those are the questions.
Well, like John said, they spent $250,000 on the project itself. In order for us to go forward, we have to form a department, not we, but the county exec has to form a department of sanitation. And he also has to get a director of sanitation. Once we get that, then we can get funding to go forward with the project.
2022 is crucial for you guys to get out and vote.
Very true. Now, the time frame on this water and sewage, is it still about 10 years, or is everybody agreeing on 10 or something?
Most of us won't be here.
It's a guess.
That's sad, Joe. No. All right, is there any other questions? Go for it, bro.
Something that would help this area would be, keep the ferries running and let more than, get the proposal done. I understand Mertec was supposed to do a weight study on it. I'm waiting.
Yeah, Mertec hasn't been terribly cooperative.
Correct, and I think the executive was supposed to go elsewhere to try to get somebody else to do something. I mean, it's ridiculous that we ran so long with the ferries and now all of a sudden it's one car. If you undo 2 bolts at Whitehaven Ferry, the sign says 22,000 pounds, and now you're down to 10. You know, waiting 30 minutes to get across the river.
Especially when you got $4 a gallon for your gas.
It's not conductive to business. I know a lot of business people. I'm part of a business that runs out of Princess Anne.
Not conducting a family life either.
Yeah.
Don't run on high tide or low tide either.
No, and then don't lie. This isn't something for you guys, it's something for the executive. Don't lie to us that the ferry's broke when really you don't have a person to run.
All right, anything else? Anybody else have any other things, questions? Anybody up here wanna say something before we, close out?
I just said thank you very much, thanks for holding it, and thank you to everybody for coming. So much.
Yeah, and I also wanna say, thank you all for, as he said, thank you all for coming out, but we need to do this at least every 2 months or so. We need to make sure that, here's the thing, the election isn't until, when?
June 28th is the primary.
All right, primary June 28th, right? Well, number one is before we cast votes on either primary or later on, we need to make sure they know how we feel and we're casting a vote for the person that's gonna help us. You know, we've been sitting, like she said, sitting on our hands, I'm glad you said it that way, sitting on our hands for way too long. And you're right, somebody said 10 years, I just thought about that. I'm 46 this month, I'm 56 in 10 years. I wanted it before then, but no. Stop it.
I just have two things. One thing is, you know, I wasn't accusing any of you guys that you're sitting on your hands. I know that, you know, but if there's other people that can back you up as far as what needs to be done, I mean, like people verbalize things nicely. You know, sometimes we can give you the backing, and the other thing is I just want to say thank you for coming down, as far as myself, to listen to what we had to say.
Yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. Yes, sir.
I would like to ask, and I know I'll probably get shot for this, has anyone ever done a bridge study to do away with those ferries?
I love that.
We have, in my opinion, you guys, I mean, we're just throwing money out in that water and it's floating
Mr.
down
Reed,
the road.
I did ask about that, and apparently there was a bridge study for Upper Ferry at some point, I don't know when, that there was not enough, a road to start a bridge to cover it. You know, Mr. Geddes? Okay.
I don't think you have enough road there.
Yeah,
No, there's not,
Height
because I live on
for
the
the
other side of
commercial,
the ferry. There's not enough
you know,
road.
harbor traffic, because I mean, the Port of Salisbury is the second busiest port.
Right, yeah. I live on the Shad Point side of
You'd
the
have to
ferry.
have a bridge like Solomon's
I
out.
want to be involved in
To
that.
make it work.
Because I can make it work.
Anyone else?
Land to it. You got land to start.
All right, thank you everyone for showing up. Drive safe.